the relationship you have with yourself not only sets the tone and foundation for every other relationship you'll have, it sets the tone and foundation for your entire life.
You have to truly be in tune with yourself. And I think that is very difficult sometimes.
It's not about getting anything or becoming anything or attracting anything. It's actually removing anything that is in the way of you being your highest expression. When someone asks the question, what is it you want? Like, it can feel overwhelming because I think we're trying to have it all figured out. No one has it all figured out.
What's up, guys? Welcome to the On Track with Annie podcast. Today's guest is an awesome one. It is Louise George. She is a business and manifestation coach. I need to listen to this because I have been trying to learn how to manifest things like I always hear. And I hear it works really well. So manifesting like your dream life, manifesting the money you want, the job you want, the relationship you want. All of these things, she talks about it. And she has been seen in Forbes. She's been seen in Vogue. She knows her stuff. So I'm really excited to sit down with her today. We talk a lot about detachment as well, which I think is something that is very important to learn and to get the hang of because it's something we all need to master in our lives. So stay tuned and get ready for this episode. Make sure before we start this, though, to leave the episode a rating and review and subscribe to the YouTube channel if you're watching it here. I really appreciate it. So we'll get right into it. I already give you a nice little intro. So I know you do a lot on manifestation. You're also kind of like a business coach, but I want to hear how you got started with this and your background just for people to know who you are and what you're about.
It's been quite a journey, actually, and we're kind of aligned in a way that you might not know or expect. And that is that I actually started as a fitness coach. So I started as a running fitness coach. This was, 15 plus years ago. And what I discovered while I was training my clients was that it was so much deeper than what I had initially thought. You know, I was training their bodies and I was hearing their life stories. I was running around parks with them at 6 a.m. and they were telling me about how they hated their jobs, their relationships. And I was like, there's something in this life coaching thing. And I also was tired of training other people at that point, doing the physical fitness training. It wasn't my life's calling. I loved it, but I was getting to the point where I was wanting to train myself and not do it as a job, you know. And so I went down the life coaching route. I started looking at more mindset based work and how I could help people more holistically with everything, not just the fitness aspect, but like really going into the mindset and helping them with their entire lives. So that's how it started. My business took off very quickly in 2014. I had a blog about well-being in all areas, and it got picked up by Hay House and Psychologies. I got invited to lots of events and to speak on lots of stages. And while that was happening, I had lots of other coaches come to me and say, how are you doing that? You've seemingly come from nowhere and your business is blowing up. And I was like, I'm just following my flow and like what I'm called to. And that naturally led to business coaching because I had other people coming to me asking me how I'd done that. And so over the last 10 years, I've really been focused on the business coaching. So most of my clients are entrepreneurs and creatives and leaders, but the manifestation piece is everything. It is the foundation for everything. And the last couple of years, I've really focused on manifestation because I want to cut the BS around that. It's such a buzzword these days. I'm like, manifestation is a very real thing, but it's not a lot of what we're hearing out there, you know, with a lot of 20 something saying, you know, just say this affirmation and overnight you'll manifest what you want. I'm like, okay, well, I love manifestation, but I really want to talk about it more in a way that is applicable and accessible to people because it is very real, it's very powerful. And now my work is manifestation and business, where manifestation and business collide, because both are you. Manifestation is you being aligned with what you want, and business is an extension of you. And so this is what makes my work so powerful with Manifestation Freak.
That is amazing. So before we get into the manifestation, I do want to ask you, is there a specific client that you work with and that you will maybe not work with? Like, I'm sure this is maybe not for everyone, but who is it that is your client?
Well, first of all, anyone that any coach is working with has to be coachable, because unless you are willing to make the changes, like nothing changes unless you change something, right? And as much as coaches can show up and tell you everything they know and support you 100%. Unless you're willing to do the work, unless you're willing to show up, then nothing's going to change. One of my coaches once said that coaching is a 200% relationship. The client has to show up 100% and the coach has to show up 100%, and that's where the magic happens. So if I don't work with everyone, you have to first of all be very coachable. And the people that I work with these days, I work with, the kind of tagline of my mastermind is women on global stages. These are I work with, not just women, but mostly women entrepreneurs, creatives, and leaders who are showing up in a really powerful way, who really want to get their work out there in a big way. And it's not necessarily about making millions or impacting millions, but that's the energy. It is people who really want to make a big positive impact and really be their highest expression and use their gifts and expertise and passions to make a big positive impact in the world as well. So that's who I work with.
Right. So it seems like people that want to level up and they've done all they can do on their own. And now they're like, I need someone else to kind of help me the rest of the way. Is that right?
Yeah, for sure. And, none of us need a coach, but in my opinion, everyone should want one, because we can't see our own BS. Like we can't, we're in our own stuff, right? We're in our own lives and businesses. And so someone who is highly coachable, who wants that support, has it's such a beautiful relationship in that the coach can help you really zoom out and see. And so that's really what I do. I'm working with people who are very, very successful already, who are already operating at a very high level in every way. They've got really intentional mindsets. They're really intentional with their energy in all areas of their lives. But that also makes them the best kind of people to coach, because they really want to level up, and and I guess you get that as well, right?
Yeah, it is hard with successful people because they have so many things running through their head constantly. It's almost like they can't fit anything else in, and they can't look outward and kind of see like, okay, what do I need to fix? Because they're constantly thinking about what they have to do all the time. So it's very helpful to have someone else tell you like, okay, let's back it up a little bit, let's pause, and let's figure out what the next steps are to have you really grow, you know.
Yeah, that became so important to me as well. And this is one of the biggest whys in the work that I do, is that I have experienced burnout in the past. I've experienced high functioning anxiety at different levels. I've had, breakdowns and panic attacks, because those of us who really do operate at this high level, especially for women, it's not sustainable. We cannot be operating at high speed all the time. However, it is kind of a gear that we're used to. We're used to kind of making shit happen, and we're really powerful creators, but we have to be able to also take that step back and recognize it. And it's a huge part of the work that I do with manifestation, and the real stuff that I'm talking about is nervous system alignment. If you're burnt out, you're no use to anyone, or especially yourself, right?
Such a good point. That happens with a lot of business owners or even fitness professionals, athletes. So that's a really great point to make. So I do want to dive into the manifestation. So I want to first hear what it is and how it begins. I've tried to manifest things in my past, and I feel like one day I'm like all in, I'm writing things down, repeating it, and then the next day I'm like it's not consistent. And I feel like it doesn't work that way. So talk to me a little bit about what it is, how you even start to do it.
I love that you said that it works sometimes and other times it's not consistent. And that's when people come to me and want to manifest more intentionally, that's typically the line. It's like, I'm doing it, I think, but then it's not consistent. So here's the thing, manifestation is consistent. We're all manifesting in every moment. The question is, are you manifesting intentionally, right? We're manifesting with our thoughts, with our feelings, with our actions. And so this is my book actually, which is out. This is like the author's pre-copy, so it's got the not for sale strip on it. But the tagline of Manifestation Freak in the book is, manifestation isn't magic, it's a frequency, because it is energy. Everything's energy. But to simplify that and to make it less woo and magical, because it isn't, it's really you being aligned with what you want, getting your mindset, energy, and actions aligned with what you want as if you have it. And so that's the consistency, that's the work. There's nothing outside of you. There's no tips and tools and tricks and practices that will work if something is out of alignment, right? So it is bringing your head and your body into coherence. It is having a balanced nervous system. It is taking intentional actions. So it's really all about you. I work with the individual, and when we're manifesting for ourselves as well, it's knowing what we want. So there's a 3-step process for manifestation freak. It's connect to what it is you really want, not the shoulds and coulds and have tos and other people's and society's expectations, but what do you truly desire, and being unapologetic in that, because your desires are there for a reason. I really believe that that is your higher self or soul or whatever you want to call it, guiding you through your heart intelligence and what you truly desire. So connect is the first step. You've got to be connected to that desire, that vision of what you really want. And then we clear. We're bringing then awareness to any limiting beliefs and fears and insecurities and anything that is blocking us from manifesting what we want. Because abundance is our natural state. Like we're manifesting in every moment. And so it's not about getting anything or becoming anything or attracting anything. It's actually removing anything that is in the way of you being your highest expression, your most abundant self, your most confident expression. And then the third is creating intentionally. So getting clear on what are the actions that are aligned for you. So many people in business, I'm working with a lot of business owners, are looking for a 5-step process. Like, tell me how you got to this amount of money, or show me. There's no one way to do it. Like, because if it's not aligned for you, it won't work. So you might buy someone's business program of, the 5 steps of how they got to $1 million. But if it's not aligned for you, it might not work for you, or it will to a certain extent, and then it won't, because it doesn't feel good. It's not aligned with your values, your lifestyle. So manifestation and business, both of them are about the individual.
What I think is part of the issue, because you talked about what is it that you want, I think a lot of people don't know. Like, they think like, oh, I think this is what I want, or they see other people's lives and they're like, maybe I'll try this. Maybe I'll be a real estate agent because it's working for this person. And I think people are having a hard time now, especially with social media, figuring out what they truly want. I don't know if it takes going to a retreat or doing some meditating to kind of like be within yourself and be like, what do I truly want? For me, that's the hardest thing, because I'm like, I think I want this. I like it. I enjoy it, but I don't know if I feel like it's truly my calling, So things like that I struggle with personally. I know other people do as well. So how do you get around that as the first step?
Well, thank you for sharing that, because that is a really important part of it. Most people aren't manifesting what they want because, quite simply, they don't know what that is, and so we're manifesting by default. We're just taking the cards that we've been dealt and running with it, and we're reacting to life. And our lives are so full these days, especially in this day and age of technology and social media the way it is. It is really challenging to carve out that space to be still and silent and connect to what it is we really want. We're so busy firefighting with all the things we have to do, but that's really key. Stillness and silence. We have to go within. There's nothing outside of us that is going to help us get there. Coaches and mentors and all of these things we're talking about can help us, but ultimately it's about helping you access the answers that you have within. And that sounds very abstract. So realistically, what that looks like is getting out of our heads, because our head brain, this is logical thinking. This is not what we really want. This is from our head brain, we're thinking about what we should, could, and have to do. So it's about getting out of that very noisy chatter of all of those shoulds and coulds and have tos, and getting into our heart intelligence. So one of the things I do as a coach is called multi-brain integration. So this is about bringing coherence between our head brain, our heart, and our gut. And our entire body is one incredible intelligence, but our hearts and our guts are 2 other major brains, which have their own intelligence, own responsibility. And so I always say to think about it, it's your heart is your CEO. Like, your heart is the intelligence that is responsible for your vision, what it is you truly desire. Your gut is like your board of directors. Like, you need to consult your gut as to what you need to move forwards and take action. And then your head is like your executive assistant. Like, absolutely can run the show, but it shouldn't, because it's not responsible for the vision and the truth and the desires. So we do a process in multi-brain integration that is a meditative process to get out of our heads and actually be able to listen to our heart intelligence. What is it that this intelligence is constantly communicating with us as to what we truly desire? So there are processes and meditative activations that will help you listen to that. And stillness and silence is really key. If someone's going to guide themselves to that place, it is really about being able to listen to that soft whisper of what you truly want. It's always there, but we have to quiet the head chatter, right? And a very simple practice that someone can take away from this conversation and do themselves is balanced breathing, first of all. So simply breathing in slowly and steadily to the count of 6, and out slowly and steadily to the count of 6. Do that for about 5 minutes, and that's going to bring you into a coherent state so your head and your body can communicate. It's also going to bring more harmony within your nervous system so that you're able to listen to that very important guidance. And it might come straight away, it might not. So it's trusting whatever's coming through. But it is really cultivating a practice of being able to listen to your internal wisdom, that kind of heart compass that is guiding you. So that's something that someone can do themselves, but practice that, stick with it, and yeah, carve out the time, because otherwise we're just going to keep operating from shoulds and coulds and have tos and get to retirement, get to the end of our lives and look back and go, well, that wasn't what I really wanted.
That freaks me out more than anything is that. And that's why I love talking about manifestation. So when it comes to the breathing practice, do you think it's important to do it in the morning in like a very calm environment, or can you do it like midday, maybe after something's happened that stressed you out? Does that matter or not too much?
I love that you've mentioned both of those, actually, because it is powerful in both of those moments for different reasons. So the best time to intentionally manifest, meaning intentionally program your subconscious mind and get into alignment with what you want, is first thing in the morning when you wake up and just before you drift off to sleep. They're the most powerful times because your subconscious mind is more open to suggestion. Subconscious mind being responsible for 95% of what we're creating, right? So we want to consciously be imprinting on our subconscious what it is we want. So I would, as soon as you wake up, go into that balanced breathing practice. And simply you can ask your heart, what is it I truly desire today? What is it I truly desire today? And then you can visualize, if you want to take that step further, how your day went. Like, so imagine you've already lived that day. How do you want it to go? Go into specific detail. If some people can't visualize, can't actually see visual images, but it's more about thinking about what you want in that meditation state. Only need to take 10 minutes, doesn't have to be very long, and elevate your feelings. Feel as if you've lived that. So how do you want that day to go? Go to the end of the day in your imagination and imagine you've lived that, and then feel what it would be like to be at the end of your day, feeling accomplished, feeling joy, feeling satisfaction, whatever it is you will feel in having your day go out that way. And we can expand that from the day to the week to the month to the year to your entire life. And this is how we intentionally manifest, is by elevating your thoughts, you're using your imagination to see what you want as if you've already lived it, and to feel what you want as if you've already lived it and are living it, and then to take aligned action with that.
I love that because it's kind of like, what would your dream day be like if you could do anything or be anywhere or be with who you wanted to be with? Like, what would that look like? And I think for a lot of people, when they think about work, because a lot of people do not like their jobs, they might think about their day and be like, oh, but I have work. Like, that's kind of partially in there. So when it comes to creating like a business that you want or a workplace environment that you love and want to be in, like, for the rest of your life, what would that look like if you're kind of manifesting like maybe how your day is going to go, but you are in a job that you don't like? Like,
Yeah,
how would you kind of
great question. Yeah, and I've been there, by the way. Like, I was someone who very much used to make things happen. Like, I've worked in corporate a long time. I've been in business over 17 years now, and I've been a coach for over a decade. I love my life. It's great. I have so much freedom. I'm living the life that I really want, but that wasn't always the case. So I certainly remember sitting in cubicles in offices, getting, the tube in London underground to get to work and thinking, what is this? This is not how it's meant to be. And that's often the first step. We have to be so tired of our own BS. Like, we have to look at our life and go, this isn't it. Because when you know what you don't want, you know what you do want, right? Knowing what you don't want brings you closer to what you do want. Because if you're looking at your life, if you're sat on public transport on your way to work going, this is not the life that I wanted, great, you know something that's bringing you closer to the life you do want. So start there. Okay, if that's not the life you want, then you can use that time on public transport to go into your imagination. What would you like instead? Okay, it might be as simple as, I'd like to be walking to work. I'd like to be cycling to work. And that's exactly how I started. I wasn't loving being on the underground in London, getting to work. And I was like, okay, so I have to change something. So what do I imagine instead? The next step is, I'm going to cycle to work. I want to be in the fresh air. I want to get to work feeling like I've moved my body. I don't want to be surrounded by other people's energy. I want to be in the outdoors. And so we don't have to manifest everything at once, but it's like, what's the next step? What's one small change you can make? What's one thing that you can imagine differently? And then what's one action you can take to make that reality?
I understand. So kind of breaking it up very step by step to the smallest things of just maybe walking to work or biking to work instead of taking public transport.
Yeah. And then when I'm working with my clients, we go to big picture vision and then now vision. So we look at, okay, what's the big picture vision you have for your entire life and business? And we start with what they know they want, and then we go into the processes I've mentioned to get connected to more of that. And then, okay, if that's what you imagine your life and your work or your business looks like, then working back from there, what would this year look like if we're having this conversation this time in next year? So as we're having this conversation, 12th of April 2025, what would you say you would love your life to look like? All right. And then we can work backwards from there and go, okay, if that's what you want to have manifested by this time next year, we're just going to focus on that. We're only going to focus on the year ahead. And we're going to work backwards and look at, okay, well, what does each month need to look like? What does each week need to look like? And what's the mindset, the energy, and the actions that you need to take in order to manifest that? It's manifestation. It's not easy, but it's very simple.
I love that because even by you saying like in a year from now, 2025, it gives me even like excitement and like this like joy because I'm like, oh my God, this is so exciting. I'm like creating this new picture for myself. And I think
I love
everyone can feel that a little bit. So even if you don't fully know what you want, there's got to be some sort of feeling where you're like thinking, oh my God, if I had this or if I could do this. So I think
and it,
maybe starting with that.
yeah, it makes it more tangible, right? I think when someone asks the question, what is it you want? Like it can feel overwhelming because I think we're trying to have it all figured out. No one has it all figured out. It's challenging to imagine the entire picture because our purpose isn't one thing, our desires aren't one thing, our life picture isn't, it's not linear in the way that we've kind of been programmed to think. Like you should go to uni, get married, have kids, have a steady job. That linear thinking is so outdated and it doesn't serve us. And so when often we're asked, what is it you want? We're looking at 5-year plans, 10-year plans, this very structured kind of way of creating our lives. That's not really in alignment with us as full beings. So when we look at it like in smaller chunks, actually imagine this time next year, what kind of life would you want to be living? That's a bit more easy for someone to grasp.
Yeah, and taking it step by step because you're right. We all want to be doing so many things, and I think that's what makes us full humans. Is there's a huge list of like activities and sports and workplaces that we could imagine ourselves. So it's kind of breaking it down. And I want to move this into relationships a little bit too, because when I've heard of manifestation of a partner, for example, people will make lists and they'll be like, I want exactly these qualities. And they'll put like 30 different qualities on there and make it very like niche, I'll say. What do you think about that when it comes to manifesting a partner?
Here's what I'll say about relationships and manifesting a specific partner in general, first of all, and that is that the relationship you have with yourself not only sets the tone and foundation for every other relationship you'll have, it sets the tone and foundation for your entire life. So actually the basis for relationships, but also the foundation for manifestation in anything, is the relationship you have with yourself. There's something called self-concept, which is what we believe to be true about ourselves and possible for us in the world. Well, we're manifesting things that are in alignment with that. So your partner, your intimate relationships especially, are a mirror for what you believe about yourself. So that's the work. Anyone comes to me and wants to manifest a partner, I'm not looking at what does the partner look like, do. We might get onto that, but I'm interested in where are you at with your relationship with yourself? How do you talk to yourself? How do you take care of yourself? What do you think about yourself, really? What do you believe about yourself? What do you believe is possible for you? Because you are going to manifest a partner and multiple partners if you need those lessons over and over again. And this is why people date the same person in a different body, right? We leave one relationship and then go into another one. It's the same shit show. Well, guess what? That's because you haven't changed. And so you're getting someone who's mirroring your bullshit again because you haven't improved the relationship with yourself. And if you can get yourself in alignment with a healthy, loving, harmonious, beautiful relationship with yourself, and you get yourself to a place where you believe anything is possible, where you truly love yourself, and this is constant work, we're never there,
Yeah.
but you're going to manifest someone, you're going to meet someone who is aligned with that, who mirrors that healthy, beautiful, loving relationship. But it's all a mirror for you.
I love that. It is true because like when I've dated people that are all over the place, they don't know where they want to live or where they want to be, they don't want to settle down. I'm like, why is this happening? And then I'll look at myself and I'm like, I'm also very scattered right now. Like I'm at a time in my life where it's like a transitional period and so are they. And I'm like, why does this keep happening? And it's so true that you have to truly be in tune with yourself. And I think that is very difficult sometimes. And you should also feel like if you're with someone that's not aligned, sometimes you do get like that feeling in your stomach and in your chest of like, something's a little off.
Yeah, it takes radical self-awareness and responsibility. We have to have complete awareness of how we are feeling, right? Because those red flags are always there. It's your body letting you know, hey, this isn't in alignment for you. This is not what you really want. And you're going to keep repeating those patterns until you pay attention to those signals within your body. Right. And so a lot of people, here's something. When I first learned this, I was like, oh wow, that's incredible. We go after the butterfly feeling a lot in relationships. Like I really want to feel like those butterflies of excitement. Well, that's actually your nervous system giving you a signal that it might not be safe, right? That excitement that we feel, and you hear it all the time, right? We go into a relationship and in the beginning it was so exciting and I had the butterflies. Yeah, that was your body letting you know you need to pay attention to something, not necessarily that it's a go, like follow the excitement. What we actually want to be feeling in a relationship is safety. So for me, so I can, that in itself is, what goes up must come down. It's like you do not want a relationship that's like high highs, because there's going to be low lows. And yeah, you want to be able to cultivate great experiences together, but there should be a foundation and basis of safety and harmony, that you have that kind of balanced nervous system.
I almost feel like the not full butterflies, but that should almost like develop. Like it shouldn't be at the very beginning of like, oh my God, but it should develop
Right.
over time of like, wow, now I really like this person. I'm starting
Yeah.
to fall in love with this person and vice versa. And that
Yeah.
seems like it'd be more lasting. But you're right. Like when it's at first and you're like, oh my God, I don't know if I'm saying the right thing or doing the right thing. You're right. It never lasts. It's like a month or two. And then it's like, okay, this is not going
Well,
to work.
it's out of kilter, right? It's we're not grounded in that place, and we don't make the best decisions when we're not grounded, when we're like carried away and like,
Uh-huh.
so that's what I'm looking for. I'm like, do I feel grounded and in this person's presence?
I love that. So another point that I want to make when it comes to, or another topic, is detachment. Because I've seen you talk about this a lot, and I think it's important when relating it to manifestation. How do we
Yeah.
detach, and why is it important as well?
I don't know. No, just kidding. I actually learned this because this is spoken about a lot. Surrender, the art of surrender, detach is banded around a lot. I learned this the hard way in a breakdown. I had a mental breakdown. A few years back, I was experiencing severe panic attacks. And I talk about this a lot because in those panic attacks, the most beautiful thing happened. I truly learned what surrender meant. And I think you can only actually really, it's an experience. It's something you have to experience. And I learned that because I was trying to stop my panic attacks constantly. I was doing, I threw my coaching toolbox at it, tapping, breath work, yoga, everything I could possibly do, hot cold therapy. I was throwing everything at it because I was trying to make the panic attacks go away. And they subsided, like all of the tools helped to an extent, but they didn't go away until one day I had a panic attack so bad. I genuinely felt like I was about to die. And I sat on my sofa at 2 a.m. by myself. And I was like, I surrendered to dying. I fully surrendered to, okay, well, it was like a Home Alone moment, in Home Alone where he's been fighting the burglars and then suddenly he's under the duvet and he's like,
Oh yeah.
you know what? I'm not afraid anymore. I had that moment. I felt very much like he did in Home Alone. I actually had a full surrender to death. I was like, I've just experienced these panic attacks for so long and they've been so terrifying. It feels much better to just surrender to it. Like, and if I'm going to die, I'm going to die. Like, I'm not going to fight this anymore, because that's ultimately what we're fighting. We're fighting always, every fear is, the underlying fear is that we're going to die. And the panic attacks for me were an extreme version of that. And I sat on the sofa at 2 a.m. a few years back, and I was like, okay, let's go. What do you want to do? Where do you want to go? I'm here. Just take me wherever you. And my panic attacks subsided.
Wow.
And
So
I
you just
think
kind of, it's
so.
like an is what it is.
Well, there's a piece that I've missed actually. Go back just before that panic attack, I started doing my own research because I wasn't getting the help that I needed. Like I was having therapy, I was seeing you name it, like all of the best experts in their fields, and I came across this guy called, I think his name is Dr. Harry Barry. Look him up. Amazing man who's dedicated his life to panic disorder and panic attacks and these kind of things. And I watched a 15-minute YouTube video of his, and this saved my life. So anyone else who experiences panic, anxiety of any kind, go check him out. He spoke about flooding, and flooding is literally what I've just described. He said, the next time you feel a panic attack coming on, don't do anything. Don't go and get a glass of water. Don't try any fancy breathing techniques. Don't move. Plant your feet on the floor or keep your bum like on the seat, and breathe as normally as you can, and just let it do what it needs to do. So it's flooding, literally letting the adrenaline flood your body. And he said within 10 minutes, it will go where it needs to go and it will subside. And so I'd watched that, and then I'd also surrendered fully to the experience myself at that point because I was done fighting it. And I had been experiencing panic attacks consistently for 6 months, pretty much daily. That one experience, that one time at 2 a.m, I finally surrendered to it, and I allowed that flooding. I allowed the adrenaline to fully flood my body, and I said, hey, you know what? Go where you need to go, do what you need to do, and if this is me dying, then that's what's happening. 10-15 minutes it went, and never came back. And not
Wow.
never. There were times that I'd be in a supermarket or a crowd or something, and I'd feel that sense of panic coming. But when I felt it coming, I kind of made friends with it. I was like, hey, I know you, old friend. Let's go. So I'd stop what I was doing in the supermarket and I'd go, okay, we're going to flood. This is your time. You can go where you need to go. Because that's all it is anyway. It's suppressed emotions that haven't been fully expressed. And it is our amygdala in overdrive firing at the enemy when there's actually nothing in that moment to be afraid of. So it is actually just fully allowing your body to do what it needs to do, signaling the amygdala to switch off and stop firing. And it's like, oh, but she's not doing anything. She's not trying to fight this or run from this. She's just standing still. So I guess there's no problem.
It is so interesting because I feel like you do get to the point where you're so exhausted by the emotion or feeling this way that you're like, screw it. It is what it is. One foot in front of the other.
Yeah.
Like people are going to do what they're going to do, anyways, regardless of what you say. Things are going to happen the way they happen, regardless of what you do, you know? And it's kind of like, what can I do in my own life to just keep moving forward the next day? And it is what it is. Like that's kind of, the bottom line with that. And it's interesting to kind of get to that place because I think it's very hard for a lot of people when you are going through something like a panic attack. It's just sitting.
But it's genuinely terrifying. I've never had something, felt, because you're out of control, you feel out of control of your own body. And so it's terrifying. That's why so many people end up in the ER, because they feel, you genuinely feel like you're dying. You're having physical symptoms that mimic like certain really terrifying things. So yeah, I ended up in the ER. But that was a massive tangent and story to come back to. That's when I was like, oh, this is what it really means to surrender. It is literally, stop trying to control this, stop trying to stop this. And it's that whole thing around the universe is going to tap you on the shoulder and go, hey, you're a bit tired, or you need to, and then it's going to give you a little push. And in my case, it brought me to my knees because there were certain things that I hadn't fully processed and felt, and I needed to. So that was the universe giving me a shove to my knees. Hey, you're going to feel this, and you have to surrender. You have no choice if you want this to transmute.
Yeah, and I think that can go with any emotion that you're feeling, whether you're feeling joy or you're mad or you're sad or upset. Like it can happen with anything. It's just kind of surrendering and feeling that emotion fully and not trying to distract, which I think most people will do. They call someone that's still distracting even though you're talking about it, but calling someone, watching something, going for a walk. But I think what you said is important. It's just kind of doing the opposite, laying on the ground or sitting there and just breathing.
Yeah. And that's an extreme version and story that I will help people kind of, in many ways. But to go back to detachment, a less human, how, so it's a bit more applicable in every day. Is it stopping controlling the how and the when something comes about? So manifestation, intentional manifestation, is knowing what you want, getting your mindset, energy, and actions aligned with that as if it's done. That's how we quantum leap. But letting go of the how and the when specifically comes in, because that we can't control. And we're, you know, I can raise my hand here and say I'm someone who's like so impatient. Patience is my greatest lesson here on this earth. You know, and I'm great at making things happen, right? But when we're making things happen, we're really meddling with something better, maybe. Like we're meddling with the outcome when something better might be, you know, if we're really trying to force dating, then you could be missing the absolute love of your life and your soulmate because you're meddling over here trying to make it happen. No, I have to get married this year or next year or whatever. Well, what if it was like a month later than that? Or what if it was in 2 years? Would you then relax if you actually knew it's going to be in 2 years for sure? You'd be like, oh, okay, cool. But because we don't know exactly when it's coming, we get impatient and we get into controlling. That's the part that we have to detach from. So, you know what you want, do everything you can to be aligned with exactly what you want. And then get busy loving your life and living your life and as much as you can be in the present moment, because how much time do we miss because we're so busy future tripping, when actually if you look around, you're so abundant now. There's so much. Like I look at my dogs every day and I'm like, I don't want to wish away the time I have with them because every day is precious. I want to be fully in this moment because this moment is amazing. There's so much to be grateful for and so many blessings in this moment that I really don't want to miss. So know what you want, be excited that it's coming and know that it's done.
I love it. Is so true. Sometimes I'm like, oh, I wish I had this, or I wish I could be here. And I'm like, I feel like I have so much now. If I actually just look around, I'm like, I have freedom in my life. I can travel when I want. You know, there's so many little things to be grateful for that could go away. And you have to really understand that and be like, I need to take this all in right now. And even the people that you hang around or family, friends, like you just don't know. So really enjoying the moments with people and, you know, anything is so important. So I really enjoyed this conversation. This has been so helpful.
I just wanted to wrap it up with, it ties in the two things that you've spoken about, relationships and manifestation. That's all that really matters. Our relationships and love and everything, all the abundance comes from that place. So that's it. Enjoy the people and have around you, and everything else will come from there.
It is. It's like relationship with self, other people, and then like the world, right? I've learned that. And it's those three most important pillars. And business does not come into that when it comes to those two things. It's kind of secondary. So I think really navigating and finding out the proper way to deal with that and create the relationships that you want and the relationship with the world that you want, and everything else will kind of follow.
Yeah. And that's one thing that will never change in business anyway. Business, I always say, business is an extension of you. And the one thing that will never change in business, technology, social media can come and go and change all the time, but the one thing that will never ever change in business is that it's all about relationships. So if you get that part right, it will all thrive.
That is such a good point. Wow. Well, thank you so much. I really appreciated this conversation. I know it helped a lot of people. It helped me. And then where can they find your book and all of your stuff that you have going on?
Well, thank you for having me. And the book is out next week. So this is perfect timing for this conversation.
Amazing.
It's called Manifestation Freak, Manifestation Magic. It's a frequency on Amazon, wherever you are in the world, from the 15th of April. And the best place to connect with me on all the things is Instagram. So that's at I am Lou George.
Okay. I'll put your link in the description because this will probably be out, you know, around that time anyway. So we'll link it below. People can click on it and buy it easily. And thank you so much. I appreciate it.
Thank you. Thank you for having me.